Oliver and Toad love working on their branch line by the sea, but they know all too well how soon the weather can change.
Weather like this is not much fun for an engine's wheels, especially when we have to stop at this silly old halt.
Mr. Oliver, if you do beg my pardon on this matter, I believe the halt to be a peaceful rest stop for us.
Huh, that's what sidings are for, Toad. Now stop dreaming of sitting around and focus on getting this job done.
Landslide!
Oh, brakes! Toad!
Huh? Oh!
Brakes!
Toad had been too distracted to warn the guard in time.
Dreaming of rest stops, were you, Toad? What if there was an animal ahead? What would we do then?
But Mr. Oliver,
But Oliver was too impatient to listen.
Ouch!
Whoa, stop! The brakes are still on!
Mr. Oliver, I think my wheels have gone flat.
Oh, bother. The Fat Controller won't be pleased.
Oliver, you are getting quite the reputation for damaging your trains. I'd have expected you to be a more cautious engine by now.
Yes, sir. Of course, sir.
I expect you to finish delivering your train properly tomorrow.
Thanks a lot, Toad. You aren't a very reliable brake van if you can't brake my trains properly.
But Mr. Oliver, the cliffside on the loop line is unsafe and...
You're unsafe, Toad. Good night.
Poor Toad didn't say another word. The next morning, Toad was awake bright and early. The men had almost finished replacing his flat wheels.
Morning, Mr. Oliver. It's nearly time for our train.
But Oliver ignored him and set off to collect his trucks without Toad.
Don't worry, Toad. He'll soon realise how much he needs you.
Yes, Mr. Diack.
Tell you what, I have to take a train of workmen up the line today. Why don't you join me?
Oliver began shunting his train and looked for another brake van to take with him.
What about that one?
It's an old one. It's not been used in many years.
It's as good as any.
So the old rusty brake van was coupled to his train.
I'll be glad when this job is finally over.
The journey was lonely without Toad, so as Oliver made his way along the track, he decided to speed up.
Watch the track, watch the track.
But what Oliver didn't know was that he was heading for trouble.
Guard, stop! Brakes!
Oh, the brakes aren't working!
Oh, help! Oh no!
a warning whistle. Oliver must be in trouble.
Quick, Mr. Duck, back us down on his line and use me as an anchor. Then we can pull them to safety.
Oh, Toad. Thank goodness you're here.
Hold on, Mr. Oliver.
Well done, Jock. That was a triumphant rescue. All thanks to Toad's idea, sir.
Yes, indeed. He's not only a trusty brake van, he's also a trusty hero.
Well, Toad, we are going to fix up the old halt so that people can visit the beach there once more. And in honour of your quick thinking, I think we should name it after you. Would you like that?
Oh, much appreciated, Mr. Sir.
And so it was arranged. The new station and Toad's story made the Little Western one of the most visited places on the island of Sodor.
Thank you for saving me, Toad. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you before.
Well, that's okay, Mr. Oliver. I'm just glad you're safe, sir.
And you were right too. It seems that this really is a beautiful rest stop, after all.
This video features the use of dangerous tools, hazardous chemicals and sharp knives. Viewer discretion is advised.
Folkestone Warren Halt, first opened in the late 1880s, is between the towns of Folkestone and Dover, on the main line to London. The railway entered and left the Warren through tunnels in the chalky cliffs. Visitors would picnic on the grassy meadows or visit the beautiful sandy beaches below. However, in December 1915, following weeks of heavy rain, the cliffs shifted towards the sea, closing the railway line for some time. A large concrete promenade was installed to stop the cliffs from moving any further. The halt opened again a few years later, but was closed to the public permanently in 1939. The land was no longer grazed, which caused big shrubs and bushes to dominate the landscape. Today, this area is used by railway staff to monitor the cliffs, as they still move to this day. The idea of cliffs collapsing sounded like such a fun idea, and I loved the history of the halt being woven into the fabric of the story. But of course, this meant I needed some cliffs. Thankfully, I don't live too far away from the location where this event took place. Equipped with another friend, Caleb, and my little pup, Eccles, we ventured out to see the cliffs. The cliffs have such an interesting visual look. As they're quite close in proximity, they have that similar chalky appearance of the white cliffs of Dover, but with a lot more shrubbery. There's a great big beach beneath the cliffs with lots of sand. Eccles most certainly enjoyed her time barking at the sea and just running around. I decided to bring a couple of buckets and bring back a few bits of chalk from the cliffs. They'd be a good reference for colour, and there were quite large boulders which would come in handy later. I knew the cliffs needed to be massive, so I assembled all of the off-cut bits of polystyrene and insulation board I had from previous projects. The entire set was built within a tarpaulin, so that I could have a layer of water beneath the cliff for specific shots. Using these polystyrene blocks, I roughly outlined the track layer, and I used wooden boards to create a more stable surface. The lucky thing with this project is that, because the cliffs are meant to be moving and unstable, the unleveled track bed actually worked in my favour. I then used my trusty friend, expanding foam, to be my base for creating shapes in terrain, and also to hold all the different pieces together and bring some unity to the build. It looks a bit crazy at first, but you can see the cliffs starting to take shape. I put a tunnel at each end of the cliffside route. I used sculptor mould to fill in the gaps between the expanding foam and create a realistic looking rocky surface. As this is a set for filming and not a showcase layout, I knew I didn't need to be perfect everywhere. So I focused on the parts of the set that would be shown on camera heavily, and the back of the set could be less detailed, as I knew it would also be covered in compost, trees and bushes. To achieve the climax sequence, I created separate cliff sections. This way, they could break away later. When it came to painting, I used my trusty rocks I'd collected earlier to help find the right colour. I then created a simple wash and lathered this atop the cliffs. I crushed up some of these rocks to create a fine powder. I then used PVA glue to adhere these to some of the cliff surfaces that would be seen up close. These created a great rocky, dusty texture atop the cliffs. In real life, the track would not be this close to the cliff edge, but I think some creative liberties are called for when making an episode about a cliffside collapse. I also experimented using static grass in places the camera would be sitting, as it gives a whole new layer compared to the scatter cover. Now it was time for the bulk, compost. Compost is cheap and can cover a huge area quickly. It's not that great close up, but it is a fantastic base layer. This was used across the entirety of the set to fill all the gaps in the cliff. I used a variety of vegetation for the backdrop, starting with lichen. I weathered the sides of the tracks by dry brushing the rails with a brown-orange mix, and then wiping away the excess paint using a track rubber. I used woodland scenic ballast, spreading it with a large brush. I like to reuse materials as much as possible, so the ballast is not glued down, in hopes I can salvage some of it when filming is complete, which I was able to. On the sides of the rails, I used dirt from outside that was nice and fine, which could then be covered in grass later. This dirt is a lot better closer to the camera compared to the compost. I created detailed bushes and trees using seafoam branches, painting them brown and then gluing a variety of different scatter materials by Woodland Scenics. The small halt was made of balsa wood, and the platforms for the new station were made from plasticard. I conducted some camera tests and the cliffs felt pretty much there. Oliver was a necessity to the story. I knew it already, and as soon as Mike mentioned it too, there was no going back. Oliver was a real pain to get right. I'm not a fan of the Backman model, and the Hornby model has a handrail piercing his forehead. I opted to use a 3D printed shell by the LBSC Thomas, combined with a Backman, yes I said Backman, Oliver chassis, modified with wheels from the Backman Henry. My friend Charlie helped me find Humbrol Lime Green, which I used for both Oliver and Duck, who is just a repainted Backman model. I used water slide decals for the sides and printed buffers, whistles and other accessories, courtesy of Jamos Trenos. I worked on Oliver while working on the cliffs, and the two pretty much came together at the same time. Mike and I had some back and forth on the story, but the script really is all him. He really understands the characters and how to write that signature Thomas style. He did it with Dockyard Dynamite and he knocked it out of the park with this one too. we ended up renaming the episode to Oliver's Cliffside Collapse. And so, in September, Mike did come to visit. We, however, did not get any filming done. I was too optimistic and Oliver just wasn't quite ready. Mike ended up helping me hugely by painting all of the Oliver, Duck, Toad and Truck's faces, made by Andrew. We also watched the Stranger Things Series 4 finale together. That was incredible. Eventually, though, I was ready, and filming commenced sometime late 2022. I added a little layer of the sea below, which was achieved with water and shaving foam mixed together to give that foamy sea look. I didn't create any sort of smoke pipes beneath the cliffs, so I simply stuck a straw into the side of the cliffs and edited it out in post. The rain effect used throughout this episode is practical and is achieved by using a water mister. I didn't want the drops to appear too large. Oliver's lamp is powered by a battery pack in the truck behind him, and you can sometimes see the wire in the episode. Toad's is the same, however his battery is inside the body. The cliff collapse was a really difficult action piece to film. I used those boulders collected at the beach and had each cliff part break away piece by piece. I can't stress enough what a mess this was. Just think, wet ballast, sand, compost, literal mud, water everywhere. The trucks falling off the track in this part wasn't scripted, nor planned, but it happened, and I thought, oh my goodness, this just furthers the tension. The lens I use is a lifesaver. It is a Laowa, I don't know how to say that, probe lens, which is actually waterproof. You can stick the end of it in water. The camera, of course, is not waterproof, so was always covered to be safe from the rain. I was surprised Oliver lasted as long as he did too. He eventually did give up, and after enduring huge amounts of rain. However, I filmed all of the cliff section first, which was the most important part to see his wheels turning and trying to grip the rails. I created a new line that had a longer curve around the cliffs, which replaced the line that collapsed. The old rusty brake van was also meant to become an ice cream van, which you can see in the back here, but I didn't get a close-up. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the VFX in this one. It was really hard to get right. I think the stormy ones turned out much better. I moved on to the Junction set, which is a heavily rejizzed version of the original set. I had always planned to have a shot where Toad and Duck are in the foreground and Oliver is in the background. But when it came to edit, I'd forgotten to film it. What an absolute pain. I'd finished filming the cliffs in summer 2023 and they had since been dismantled. So we have the background, just not the foreground. I think it still works. The yards and shed scenes were filmed late 2024, as he had a big work project in between this time. Oliver is not running in any of these scenes. He's simply a free roller by this time. I want to thank Mike again, James, Neil, Dan and Stuart for all being incredibly kind and voice acting on this project. They all did a fantastic job and this video wouldn't be the same without them. I also want to thank Caleb for helping me throughout this video. He has not let me forget to release this one. I want to thank you all for watching and being so patient. I realised the teaser was released nearly 2 years ago. But that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.